So, after a couple days working, I'm back on this project, the 914 restoration. Um, we'll call this episode Cleanup because that's probably about all we're going to accomplish. I did get the seats out after the last video, and let's take a look in the floor pans because when you pull the seats out of these old rusty Porsches, you never know what you're going to find. Uh, and I've actually pulled a few things out of this one, like a little micro screwdriver, very disturbing cartoon drawn in pencil on a piece of notebook paper. I won't show that. And yeah, this is a typical kind of litter, especially on a 914, because you drop anything underneath those seats, you're going to have a really hard time getting to it because they're super low. So I got a filter for the shop vac. Let me get the thing out, clean the pans up, and then we'll take some more look at this rust damage. So a couple of observations after vacuuming. First is that lighter red is probably original color. So this car has definitely been resprayed. We've already seen the body damage. So that's initial observation. Floor pans, at the very least, we're looking at this rear driver's floor pan, the back half. I'll start peeling up the sound deadening on that side. And then poke around on the front of the driver's side. That appears to be where the most significant damage is. I mean, on the passenger side, the mounts for the seats are present and accounted for. So that's good news on that side. And then just quick look. Oh, I found some information regarding these holes. So when I went to the Restoration Design website, who's a manufacturer of replacement parts for the chassis on these cars, metal stamping, sheet metal, apparently this would be a common practice if a dealer installed air conditioning. Now surely they would put the condenser coil, I believe, I always get those backwards, condenser and evaporator, would put it near the holes and cover it with something a lot better than that sign we pulled out. So I think that would explain those two holes being cut in the front trunk. So anyway, I'm going to clean the seats up. We'll take a close look at them. Yeah, it cleaned up all the foam. The residue from the seat covers came up easily enough. Remember, the one with all the bolster wear was on the passenger side, but if I remember right, it's simple enough just to either slide the seat completely out of the track, or I think it's just a couple of screws that hold the seat onto the seat rail. So I really think somebody has swapped these out at some point, just because the driver didn't like sitting on the seat with all the wear. I mean, surprisingly, underneath here is not bad at all, because those mounting areas usually get a lot of rust. I'm trying to see Yeah, we're missing a handle. So this is the handle you pull to slide back and forth. That's not present on this one. So that's a minor inconvenience. Obviously broken off. So, you know, I think I've decided that the cloth is original, and I'll verify that on one of the forums. But for now, that's low priority. So I stripped the sound deadening off the driver's side, and you can see basically where the good metal starts and the rust begins. And now the next thing I'm going to do is I've already pulled the screws out of the bottom of the firewall pad, and I'm going to pull that off, pull that pad out, and there's some insulation behind it, like a rubber sheath. Anyway, expose that firewall and see how that looks. So you would think that backing pad hangs or has screws. It does on the bottom, has screws, but I thought it hung, but it actually goes up, and these tabs fit into these slots. So if you're trying to lift up, it won't come out. You actually have to kind of bring the bottom out like that, and then just kind of pull it out from under those slots. So I dare say nobody's been inside of here since this car was manufactured, and there appears to be a date, 12/9/74, which would correspond with the manufacture date on the car. So that's original equipment. And the fiberboard's not that bad. It looks like it's gotten a little wet down here on the bottom. I mean, it's completely salvageable. So I'll definitely reuse it. Now the trick is to get this rubber pad off, because it's basically glued on, without ripping the hell out of it. So I think I probably have to take the seatbelt mechanism out to do that. So this is good news. Yeah, now you can definitely see the original paint color on this car, on that bulkhead. So proper terminology, only the lower segment down here is the firewall, and right where the floor pan joins it, there is some corrosion. So depending on how the pan mates up, and yeah, you can see the remnants of where the pan mates, and this side still has the sound deadening on it. But yeah, I've seen these firewalls majorly corroded, and there may be a little bit underneath the seam sealer, but overall this is good news. Doesn't appear that they put a lot of glue on it. I mean, the glue has a tendency to trap the moisture as well. Also note that the emergency brake, parking brake mechanism is intact. However, the handle is gone, and that's a VW part. So I don't think it's going to be any problem getting. As I'm going along here, I pulled out the lower seatbelt anchor, and that was good news, because that came out easily, which means that receiver is not completely corroded, because on the longitudinal, if that's wasted, you're in for a lot of work. So and I noted I pulled all the screws except for one. This one's been stubborn, out of the top of the longitudinal. That holds that trim piece in, and the carpet. You know, the goal is to get the carpet peeled back and take a look into this corner. All those screws came out willingly, which those will rust from the inside and you won't be able to extract them. You got to drill them all out. So at this point, I'm pretty hopeful about this driver's side longitudinal, because that's a major deal. Okay, well, it would have been much worse. You can see where the inner firewall, I think is the proper term, wraps around, joins the inner longitudinal, because that's basically a clamshell, and comes across. What is most concerning is down here at the bottom of the longitudinal and how much corrosion is set in there. But so far, this is promising. So the top of the longitudinal is pretty darn good. I got one corrosion hole there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the rocker cover, because now I'm right here. Note that the trim plate, sill plate, decorative plate, whatever, it's held on by little plastic rivets, and you just got to shear the tops off because you'll never get them out. And I don't know if they sell those aftermarket or not. Probably, who knows. But yeah, I want to get this rocker cover off, and that'll really tell the story over here on the driver's side about structural issues. Well, passenger side is promising as well. There is a rust hole back here at the very top of the passenger side firewall. You can see that's where the bulkhead joins onto the firewall. So that'll need to be addressed. I've already got the trim plates off, and just as a note, while you're doing this, you might as well, if you're going to pull your rocker covers, might as well drill out the pop rivets that go along right along the edge there. So now we'll get the car up on the lift higher and go for those pesky panhead screws that hold the rocker covers on. To take the rocker cover off, you're going to pull this plug out of the jack receptacle. There's a little tricky screw. Let me turn the light on. Right up in there. Thought that was a hex head, but so that might have been changed out, and there's supposed to be a little spacer right in between there. So this rocker has probably been pulled off at some point. Also, there are panhead screws underneath here. Those are usually rusted and very difficult to get out. I noted these are loose, so somebody's been up in here, and that is probably a sheetrock screw, because we're finding a lot of those on this car. So, and then you saw the rivets I was taking out. There's one right under the door up top here. It's really hard to get to unless you take the door off, which I'm not going to do. So let's see what I can get going here. Well, here's what we've got. Got some pretty good corrosion right there where the outer longitudinal makes that bend. I've seen that area much worse though. The jack plate is intact. Down along here, it's all good. Got a corrosion spot there. And right there. Now I figured this hose out. This is a hose for the aftermarket air conditioner. So I'll be yanking all that crap out of there so I can clean this up better. Without the hoses in place, it's a lot easier to get a better look. Yep, right there at the jack point, which that's all related to the pan there. Jack point, surprisingly okay. See, basically they just opened up those holes and those sill supports and then drilled through that area to run those hoses. And then same thing here, it's all been drilled out. So that captured a bunch of dirt and salt probably, and yeah, caused the rusting. Where all the hose clamps were, there's little holes now. Those can be filled in, doctored up where they don't cause problems. All right, well, let's attack the other side. All right, passenger side off. Again, jack point on this side, quite nice. The longitudinal itself isn't too bad. There's same spot as passenger side, but it just hasn't quite eaten all the way through. And the underside of the long, not bad at all. So, yeah, this is good. I mean, if this car was running right now, I'd have no problem, except for the pans, floor pans, take it out on the road and drive it around. I mean, it's mostly structural. So, good day. Glad that it's not worse than it is. Thanks for watching.